Good morning. It's announcement time.
Good morning.
Thank you, Catherine. Before I forget, please turn your phones to what Catherine calls worship mode. And before we begin our service, I have some announcements for you. First of all, today is the day of our church picnic. And you all are invited, even if you haven't reserved, because we have a mess of food. If you haven't been watching the news, the good news is the government did not shut down, which means that we're going to La Cueva, which is off of Dripping Springs Road. And as I understand it, and you know I get lost a lot, we go up University and keep going till we see Dripping Springs, and then there will be signs. But since they charge for parking, we encourage carpooling. I have 3 seats in my Prius. I cleaned the car just for you guys this morning. And Sarah and Rabbit also have 3 seats as they are going from here. And you have 2 seats, Mark? Okay, so already we've got 8 seats for anybody who wants to tag along and not have to worry about driving. Let's see. Please remember that Chris Ramsey, a longtime devoted member of this congregation, is currently living at Blue Horizon Assisted Living Center, and she would love to have visitors. On the back of your order of service is the phone number, and you're encouraged to call to find the best time to visit, usually mid-morning or mid-afternoon, but it's best to call ahead of time. Also, this coming Saturday, if you haven't already put it on your calendar, please do so. The Pride Parade will be this Saturday for the UUs who are going to march in the parade. We are going to meet at the City Hall parking lot before 4 o'clock. Think about that, before 4 o'clock when the parade starts. Look for Dave Rice and our UUCLC banner. You're encouraged to wear your UU t-shirts or Pride colors. Let's strut our stuff, folks. We have another upcoming event, and that's on October 14th. It's entitled Ghosts in Harmony. Ghosts in Harmony. I've sung a lot of musical groups, but I've never sung with ghosts. But anyway, it's a Halloween-themed evening of story and song that brings together storytellers and mental health advocate Micah Pearson with Old Time Pharmaceuticals, and you know that group. A lot of people love their music. So if you're interested, mark that down on your calendars, October 14th.
It's not going to be here.
It's not going to be here.
It is?
Yeah, it will be here. Mark, don't say things that aren't true. Okay. And since this is the first day of the new month, we have the monthly calendar in paper form for those of you who prefer that. They're on the credenza in the foyer. As you leave the service, please pick one up. All right, I think that's all the announcements. Oh, no, one more. October 15th is our annual Blessing of the Animals. Well, no, it's an animal-focused service. And those of you who, like me, are lovers of animals and have them as members of our family, please share your photos with Dave or Mike so that they can be part of the slideshow. They'll be part of the service. And we're talking about current members or past. Both are welcome. Okay. All righty. Now that we have Charlie, we can start.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome. Just to clarify, we do have a couple of choir members here, so when it lists UUCLC choir, the three of us will be singing. Due to, you probably have heard there has been an outbreak of COVID, and our choir members are choosing to stay home and be safe from sharing singing, okay? So I invite you to sing along with us. You may choose to wear masks. Remember that singing is a particularly, spreading kind of event. But we will be singing today, and our gathering hymn is Keepers of the Earth by Joyce Poley. So I invite you to rise and body your spirit as we sing together, and the words will be on the monitor.
Again, welcome. Good morning. This is the Sunday service for the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. My name is Katie Fitzgerald, and despite what the order of service says, I am your service associate today. We have had an outbreak of COVID, and so you've got people coming off the bench. I'm sorry to say. Well, I don't like for people to be ill. The developers of today's service, Ed Long and Linda Ruchala, cannot be here because of COVID, but we have the winners, Charlie Scholz and the Reverend Nancy Anderson, who are going to be the service leaders for today. Elwin Nunn is working the camera. Mike has the PowerPoint, and Claire, the soundboard. Steve Hitchka and Diane Lee were serving as our greeters. We are all delighted that you could be with us, whether you're here in the sanctuary or tuning in via YouTube. We here at the UUCLC are striving to become a beloved community. We embrace diversity in all its forms. Everyone is welcome. Unitarian Universalism has no creed nor dogma. We are a covenant-based church, meaning that we agree to live in relationship with each other according to the Unitarian Universalist principles and our congregation's covenant of right relations. You can learn more about our church and check the events calendar at our website, uuchurchlc.org. If you are visiting us today in the sanctuary, we'd like to meet you. Please stand and wait a moment while we get the microphone to you, and then we'd like you to introduce yourself and let us know where you are from. Do we have any visitors today?
I'm sort of an old visitor, but I was part of the church. I started when I came back. I lived in Latin America. I came back in 1990, and then I moved to Deming, but I was here off and on, teaching in Hatch, teaching in Deming, then teaching in Las Cruces, and then I've been gone for a long time, and I'm back cleaning out my storage unit, and I leave on Tuesday. The storage unit is empty. My hotel room is not yet, but I'm really close there. I just feel so good about it. I feel like this has been like such a huge marathon. And I'm like right at the end. I'm almost, I can see the finish line. It's just so good. And there's been so many people that have helped me in our church. And I'm just so grateful that friends last over such a long time. It's good to be here again.
Oh, Susie, we're glad that you could be with us. Thank you. Any other visitors? Well, if you're shy and you don't want to stand, that's okay. We accept everybody, even shy folks. But there are visitors' cards on the back of the seat in front of you. We invite you to fill those out and put them in the offering basket a little bit later in the service. Directly following the service, there will be an opportunity to fellowship with one another. Because of the recent outbreak of COVID cases here at the UUCLC, we're going back to our COVID protocols. We are going to be serving coffee and goodies under the portico, and we have chairs under the tree in the shade, and we hope that folks will take advantage of that, the opportunity to be together, enjoy the treats, coffee, and conversation. This week's hospitality offerings are provided by the Board of Trustees.
I'm playing Ed Long this morning. When I'm myself, I'll announce that. Anyway, these are the opening words that he gave us. This is from a UU booklet on families and faith. New discoveries will continue throughout a lifetime. Even after many decades together, partners can stumble over differences of opinion about how a partner ought to behave after a major health crisis, or how retirement pension should be saved or spent. Observe your lives or chosen families and discover alternative realities.
Our chalice lighting comes this morning from Oberlin's UU Fellowship, Oberlin, Ohio. We light this chalice to find inner peace, love for each other, and faith in ourselves. Also to be welcoming to whomever we meet, and kind to all living creatures. So gather around this light of hope as we share this time together. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in saying our church's affirmation of covenant, followed by the singing of the doxology in English and Spanish. The words will appear on the screen. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Whoa. Please join us for the opening hymn, number 73, Chant for the Seasons.
Welcome to this reading of The Trouble with Dragons, written and illustrated by Debbie Gliori. The trouble with dragons is, dragons make dragons, and then they make more, till there's wall-to-wall dragons, making dragons galore. Then dragons start spreading all over the place, soon their houses and roads take up all of the space. Dragons eat all the food and drink all the drink and use everything up without stopping to think. They also throw parties and make lots of noise and leave a huge mess after playing with their toys. Dragons chop down the forest, which melts both the poles and punctures the atmosphere full of big holes. Dragons blow out hot air, which makes everything hotter and hotter and hotter until all the snow melts and the ice turns to water. The seas start to rise and the deserts expand until everything's covered in water or sand. Say goodbye to the world into which you were born, for the dragons have made it all tattered and torn. Poor dragons, imagine a world with no birds and no bees, just dragons as far as dragons can see. Don't go, wailed the dragons, don't leave us alone. A world without wildlife is no kind of home. If you stay, we all promise to do what it takes to look after the planet for all of our sakes. As the waters rose higher, right over their knees, a voice said, "Okay, start by not chopping down trees." Then all of the animals chimed in with advice, from the greatest of elephants to the smallest of mice. Eat food that is grown much closer to home, and leave the wild places and ice caps alone. Turn down your heaters and get some fresh air. there's enough to go around if we all share, respect all Earth's creatures, and cherish the land, recycle, reuse, and reduce your demands. So, if you know a dragon, and most of us do, ask if it thinks that this story is true. For if we can't see that our stories are linked, then sadly, like dragons, we too could be extinct.
My former employer offered me a temporary assignment for a few months. I figure if I take it, we could use the money to finance a trip to Europe without dipping into our regular retirement
Hey,
funds.
great idea. Any idea where you'd want to go?
Well, let's look at Road Scholar website and think about where we might want to go next summer and talk about it later, what we might want to do.
Okay.
One of the ways that we strengthen our bond as a beloved community is by taking some time during our Sunday service to share our joys, our sorrows, and our milestones. So at this time, I'm going to bring around the microphone to those of you who have a joy, a sorrow, or a milestone to share. I'm going to start it off because I'm so excited. I told you when our grandson Draven went to the Marine Corps boot camp. Well, this coming Friday, he graduates, and Bill is flying to Paris Island for the ceremony. I'm staying home to take care of the dogs. But anyway, we're very happy, very proud. Anyone else?
There it is.
Can you hear me? Oh my gosh. All right, I'm Sam, and about a week ago, my beloved canine companion was taken from us from an aggressive cancer, and it went from him being completely normal and part of the family to us euthanizing him in 48 hours. And see if I can do this. But although the speed of it was traumatic and losing 1/3 of my family is traumatic, I know that time will heal this wound as well. But for me, this is a big step to share something like this with this sacred group of people. So for me, this is part of my taking a step toward healing. And the last thing I want to say is there was a little bit in the newsletter.
Yes.
And I've already had several people reach out to me, and not a single person said, well, that's not a real kid. You know, everybody has been loving and wonderful. So thank you for your support, everybody.
I remember.
Sam. Good morning. I'm Dave Steele. I have two sorrows to share. Eileen and I have two sorrows to share. Like Sam, we lost a beloved member of our family last week, our 17-year-old dog, Harmony. Actually, she died 4 days short of her 17th birthday, but she had been ill for a long period of time, and as our veterinarian has told us, we have another dog who's 16 who suffers from Cushing's disease, and she's not doing well. We've been sort of running an animal hospice at our house for the past several months, and it was very difficult to see Harmony go. And like Sam, we've had so many people reach out to us, send us cards, and we are very, very grateful for that love and support. My other sadness is that there are so many empty seats today because COVID is not done with us. We are done with COVID. So many of us are done with COVID, but it's not done with us. There is a new variant, two new variants, significant mutations to the virus. And so the new vaccine that's out, many people think that it's just a booster, but actually it's a new vaccine. It's been available since the middle of September. And I really want to encourage everybody in our congregation to take advantage of that vaccine. Our experience from the past has shown that unvaccinated people and people over the age of 60 are the ones who end up getting in the most trouble from this virus. And younger people may not become as ill, but they can easily become vectors without knowing it. So please get vaccinated. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. And
Hi, I'm Jamie, and I have a happiness to share. Tomorrow, my grandson will be born. My daughter-in-law is having a C-section tomorrow, and this will be my second grandchild. My first is a little over 2 years old now, and she will have a little brother tomorrow. So that's my happiness.
wonderful. Congratulations, Jane. Any others? Well, thank you. I appreciate everyone who has shared what is in their hearts, because I know it's not always easy. I'm going to light another candle here on the chalice table for those joys, sorrows, thoughts that we have not expressed, and also for those who are not with us in person this morning. We wish all well.
Well, have you come up with some ideas about where you'd like to go? Let's see if we can come up with several trips that we would both like and go from there.
Well, I've been thinking about places that I've been that would be fun to return to with you, as well as some countries that would be new for both of us. I'd love to share with you some of my favorite places in Spain, the Alhambra in Granada and the Prada in Madrid, the Rambla and Park Güell in Barcelona.
Oh, yeah.
Although I saw that the Rhodes Scholar has a trip called Berlin to Pass. I've never been to Berlin. It would be interesting to go with you and hear you reflect on your experience in Berlin before the wall fell and what Berlin is like today.
Mm-hmm.
And neither of us has been to Scandinavia. I've wanted to go there for a long time, and that would be so much fun to do that together.
I saw that Berlin trip, but actually I like the idea of German icons trip better because I spent a month in Germany in high school, but really only saw one city. The icons trip would let us see 3 cities. And I love Irish music, so I'd love to see Ireland, and neither of us has been there yet. Or perhaps Portugal. We both enjoyed the time we spent at your conference in Porto, but there wasn't enough time to see the whole country. Sailing the Danube also sounds interesting, a new set of cities, and I've never taken a sailing trip.
Well, I'm not so thrilled about going to Ireland, but any of the others would be very interesting to me.
Okay, let's look at the details on those programs and try to come up with a decision in the next couple of weeks.
Right. Later that evening, Ed has headed to bed, and I am sitting on the couch reading the New York Times, which is where this reading is from. The past 3 days were quite likely the hottest in Earth's modern history, scientists said on Thursday, as an astonishing surge of heat across the globe continued to shatter temperature records from North America to Antarctica. Forecasters warned that the Earth could be entering a multi-year period of exceptional warmth, driven by two main factors: continued emissions of heat-trapping gases, mainly caused by humans burning oil, gas, and coal, and the return of El Niño, a cyclical weather pattern. It's so far out of line of what's been observed that it's hard to wrap your head around, said Brian McNulty, a senior research scientist at the University of Miami. It doesn't seem real. Those weather patterns could change in the weeks ahead, but even then we'd probably be going from insanely record-breaking temperatures down to just extremely record-breaking. After reading this article, I think to myself, what in the world are we doing flying to a vacation in Europe when the world is burning up? Ed, thanks for making the coffee this morning.
When did you come to bed last night? You were up late.
Too late. Actually, that's why I was up late. I was thinking, it's much too late. We need to talk. I was spending last night thinking about the trip we're planning, and I've come to a realization that flying halfway around the world when the world is burning up may not be morally defensible for me. I need to rethink whether I feel comfortable flying to a vacation when the effects of climate change are literally burning our planet. My conscience says no.
Huh? What? Okay, so when I went to bed last night, we had narrowed our choices to 2 or 3 trips that we would like to take in Europe. We were going to do more of a deep dive today to see which one was our choice. So what happened?
Well, in the light of what's been happening to our planet this summer, a leisure trip to Europe is just irresponsible. A round-trip flight to Europe for the both of us burns as much fuel as we do in our car in an entire year. And that includes our road trips.
I know that, but you know, a plane is going to fly with or without us and uses all that fuel whether we're on it or not. It won't make any difference to the planet if we're on it.
Ed, that is bad on so many grounds. You know that if people start saying no to burning fossil fuels, airlines will adjust their decisions on continuing routes. Each person deciding to reduce or stop flying to vacations results in a cumulative difference. Also, it is another form of American privilege, one that a great majority of the world's population cannot share. So while we travel across the globe for play, enlightenment, and just to see great cultural and natural sights, people are dying or being displaced from heat, drought, and the loss of their fertile lands to the use of fossil fuels and the resulting climate change.
Well, those are good points, but here's something else. To be honest, I don't feel guilty about being on a plane. I spent my whole life trying to minimize my use of fossil fuels. I bought a gas-saving subcompact, a plug-in hybrid, and only use a tank of gas about 6 to 8 weeks. Even our RV is minimalist and gets almost 20 miles to the gallon. And since we have moved into our house, we have sprung for high-efficiency HVAC systems and windows. Besides that, I've been recycling since the 1970s when it wasn't easy to do or find places to take recycling. That saves fossil fuels too. And you compost, which means less trash in the landfill. We've always taken our own bags to buy groceries, even before it was the law and people gave us funny looks. Bottom line is that you and I have done a very good job on minimizing our climate impact. I suspect we've done more than most Americans.
Ed, you know that I don't try to compare myself to what I do and think others are doing. As Carly Simon might say, if Warren Beatty flew to Nova Scotia just to see the total eclipse of the sun, would you?
Actually, I think he was talking about Mick Jagger, but sorry. Yeah.
Charlie interrupts. And Linda continues. Yes, we've worked to reduce our footprint, but those things you mentioned were relatively easy for us to do. We could afford to do them, and aside from the cost, they don't significantly affect our ongoing behavior. But given the changes we're seeing in the world today, I believe that our faith and values are telling me that we need to do much more than the easy things that we can buy our way into. We need to change some fundamental behaviors. It's like UN Chief Antonio Guterres said this summer, the era of global warming has ended. The era of global boiling has arrived.
True, mostly, but I refuse to feel guilty. We are not perfect. There's always something more we can do, but we are doing a lot of good things with our lifestyle. I mean, we could spend our lives in a dark room and never go anywhere. That would certainly help to minimize our impact on the climate. But I am willing to think about not going. Give me a few days to think about it.
Well, I'm not saying that I'll never step into another plane. Our kids live all over the country, and if they need me or when I need to see them, I might have to fly to get there. However, I'm thinking that whatever air travel I do needs to be most mindful of the costs borne to the environment and my extreme privilege as a relatively well-off American.
And now, as we used to say on Monty Python, for something completely different. I'm speaking as myself today, as Charlie Scholz. I've been a UU for 45 years, and in 4 different churches in 2 countries. And there are 3 reasons why I pledge for our pledge campaign this year. I pledge because this church is a happening place, as we used to see. All you have to do is look at the monthly calendar or the week at a glance that comes to your email box to know how many varied activities our congregation is engaged in. Or take last Sunday, for example. We were honoring our music director, Catherine Massey, for 25 years of service. By the way, I asked Catherine if we have to do this every 25 years, and she said no. Now she's changed her mind. I can't believe that. Okay. Anyway, the sanctuary was filled with beautiful sounds and beautiful people like you, a happening place. I also pledge because this is a beautiful place. I'm chair of the Facilities Management Committee, which means that we're responsible for the upkeep of the campus and making sure that things work and work well. But we're also concerned with the aesthetics of the church. It's why we spent almost a year, a few years ago, rehabilitating this space. I've been very pleased with the outcome, and I'm convinced it's more attractive to newcomers as well. If you build it, they will come, as we used to say. But I also pledge because this is my spiritual home. In spite of being married to a minister, I'm not much of a theologian or religious philosopher. So sometimes I find it hard to explain this about how I feel about spirituality. But to put it in simple terms, it's a feeling of acceptance of my beliefs as we work together as a congregation to help change the world. And that is why I pledge.
Thank you, Charlie. We're glad you do. I have a short reading from Let Us Look Into Our Hearts by Eric Walker Wilkstrom. It is said, the Lord gives a cheerful giver, yet will accept from a grouch as well. As the greeters prepare to take this morning's offering, may each of us look into not just our wallets or checkbooks to see how much we have with us. Let us also look into our hearts and see what is available there. How much love, how much generosity, how much faith, how much gratitude, how much hope. And let us take our offering from that account. I know you will be generous. The church is continuing its support of organizations identified by the Social Justice Committee as recipients for our Change for Change program. We collect your actual change, or checks that have Change for Change noted in the memo line, or online donations noted for this purpose. And we hope that you will be generous as the basket is being passed and continue your Change for Change donations. We start a new quarter today, and the Change for Change recipient is Mesilla Valley Hospice. I would imagine that there are very few amongst us that don't have some interaction with hospice for a family member or a friend, or perhaps even yourself. Almost 50 years ago, I am very grateful for hospice, the short time they provided care for my mother as she lay dying, and the assistance they gave to us, her family, so that we could support her in the best way and make sure that she left this earth in very comfortable and in our loving arms. I'm very glad that our Social Justice Committee has found its way to recognize hospice as a Change for Change recipient. I invite the greeters to come forward and to pass the basket.
I'm not sure whether our conversation today sounded phony to you, but we did try to make the discussion close to the original talks we had, says Linda. That is, minus the incomplete sentences, the sputtering, and a few inadvertent expletives. Aha!
And a disclaimer. We're not up here to tell anyone in the congregation what you should be doing in response to climate change. What we decided was based on our history and experiences and our level of commitment.
For us, practicing our faith as Unitarian Universalists means incorporating our organizing principles consciously into our daily family decisions. It also means seeking wisdom from those who are experts on the factual issues, such as climate change, and talking with friends and loved ones. Ongoing conversations with others who share our values, such as members of this congregation, are very helpful in testing our assumptions and conclusions, especially when those conclusions are challenging to our mindset and difficult for us to accept.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I spent significant time online since our first conversations looking at climate organizations to understand more clearly the climate and social impact of air travel. I learned that only 11% of the global population undertook air travel at all, and only 4% traveled abroad in 2018, the pre-pandemic normal. On the other hand, recently, over 10% of U.S. residents traveled abroad, and over half of Americans traveled domestically. And now that COVID is no longer a significant travel concern for most people, travel is increasing at a rapid rate. Marketplace recently reported that by last summer, air travel had largely rebounded for domestic trips, and this summer, international travel is surging. These numbers are highly correlated with countries by wealth, education, and in the US, by race. So the effect of our travel bug, affects not just our seventh principle on our environment, but also our principles related to justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and dismantling oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. I love traveling, and I mourn the old sights and the new ones I might not see in the future. But I think the time has come that I view leisure air travel as a luxury and privilege that is mostly incompatible with my values and my hopes of a sustainable and just world. I was not aware of others, aside from Greta Thunberg, who have forsworn air travel. But there is a small anti-flying movement in Sweden and Europe named, and I can't pronounce this, FLYG, SCAM, Flying Scam, that has started in the past 5 years. I'm not quite there yet, but I think that climate change is requiring us to make bigger sacrifices to our privilege than we have ever made before.
The minister of the church we belong to in Cedar Park, Texas, Reverend Joan Fontaine Crawford, once told us about a decision-making process in her marriage. When there is something one partner wants to do, there are 3 acceptable responses from the other partner. I'm happy to do that. I'm willing to do that. I don't want to do that. Okay, here's what we decided. Linda wanted to stop traveling to overseas locations. My response is, although I still want to go, I'm not willing to, at least for now.
And I am willing to reconsider this decision in the future as circumstances may change, perhaps solar-powered flight. So our decision is to postpone such travel until we have more convincing reasons why international leisure traveling would be justifiable.
Our closing hymn is Blue Boat Home, number 1064 in the Teal Hymnal. I invite you to rise and body your spirit as we sing this together. Words are by E.B. White.
It's hard to know when to respond to the seductiveness of the world and when to respond to its challenge. If the world were merely seductive, that would be easy. If it were merely challenging, that would be no problem. But I arise in the morning, torn between the desire to improve the world and a desire to enjoy the world. It makes it hard to plan the day.
Please join me as we extinguish the flame. The words are on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.